In today's In-Depth Now, we're talking about some major changes to state and federal veterans benefits, improving education, as well as helping to transition from military to civilian life. Our Melissa Eichman sat down with an elder attorney to find out more.
Michelangelo Mortellaro joins us to talk about major changes to state and federal veterans benefits. Now we're talking about education here and transition to military to civilian life. So let's get started with those senior veterans benefits and how it's going to be more complicated for them.
Sure. As an elder law attorney, a VA-accredited elder law attorney here in the Tampa Bay area, I work with seniors every day that are trying to get VA benefits. And there were some major changes in October of last year that has made it more difficult and more time consuming to get benefits. The applications process has gone from 30 to 90 days down to now, 4 to 6 months minimum before a decision is rendered. So it's really more important than ever for someone seeking these benefits to seek the counsel of a VA-accredited attorney to help them streamline the process, because many of the rules don't make sense, but many of them are crucially important to a successful application. And since they're making it more difficult for veterans that have assets or have higher levels of income to obtain the benefits that previously were easier to get, it is important to work with someone who does this for a living and is able to get them from point A to point B in the most efficient manner.
How are these changes going to be positive for our veterans?
Well, the positive is that on the surface it allows veterans to have a little more money than they used to have in order to still obtain these benefits, but the strategies that VA attorneys were able to use in the past to reduce the benefits or reduce the assets on paper has gotten more difficult, and those policies have become more stringent. So it cuts both ways. You could certainly tell in the legislation that there was a little horse trading going on. We're going to make it more difficult in this area, but we're going to relax the rules in this other area. So there is some trade-offs, and those trade-offs, in my opinion, seem to harm more than what they help. But nonetheless, that is what we do at Mortellaro Law, is to help those individuals really get the benefits that they deserve and they're entitled to through the service to our country.
Most definitely. All right, let's talk a little bit about VA payments and leverage when it comes to landlords. We got a wide scope of things here. Give some insight on to those topics as well.
Correct. So the newer laws, which just were enacted in January, I was speaking with Al Rochelle back in the fall, and we were talking about the VA IT debacle that made a lot of student payments late. They didn't upload certain code, and the computers were 50 years old, so things went sideways. And because of that, many colleges were suspending students from being able to attend class, access to facilities, telling them they needed to go out and get student loans when the VA really guaranteed under the GI Bill their access to education. So this new legislation is really good. Doesn't have any negatives, but it prevents schools that accept GI Bill money from making it more difficult for veterans to get their benefits and to be able to get their education that they are entitled to. It prevents them from penalizing the veteran because of an issue at the VA.
Okay, and from schools to homes, you're talking about leverage with landlords. How is that going to work?
A few housing provisions. One of them is that now the VA is required to effectively give a benefits statement to anyone who is entitled to housing benefits. So what that does is it helps the landlord make a more comfortable decision to lease to a veteran, in that they know that the veteran is going to get X number of dollars every single month specifically for housing. So even if they don't have a job at the moment, maybe they're going back to school, the landlord knows there will be money from the government guaranteed in order to make sure the rent payments are made. So it makes it more accessible, where otherwise it's easy for someone to say, trust me, the VA is going to pay for my housing. This way the landlord sees it and is more comfortable. The second issue, which is another positive, is that for widows of veterans who were killed in the line of duty, they now have up to 1 year to cancel their lease and to not have to pay any lease termination penalties or any liquidated damages or give up their security deposit. So that's really good. Also, it gives a little more flexibility for those widows that unfortunately find themselves in that situation, that where they lived might have been connected to the veteran,
right?
And now they want to go back and live with their family, and this allows them to do that without suffering a financial strain.
And there's also help here for those homeless veterans to get them back to work. What does it offer for those?
Another
guys?
home run. In the past, it was very difficult for a veteran to receive this type of assistance with finding jobs. They literally needed to be on the streets or in a shelter.
Right.
And there's a lot of veterans that are just teetering on losing their house or losing their apartment. And when they would go to the VA would say, well, unfortunately, wait until you're on the street, then come back and see us and we can help you. So now there is provisions both before the veteran loses their current housing situation, and I want to say it's up to 60 days after they find new housing to kind of reinforce the best job that they can get. I also like about this that the VA is requiring that there is a non-governmental third party involved that identifies these available assets to homeless or near homeless veterans and provides a clean, comprehensive list of things that are available to them to help them try to get on their feet.
And what else do you want to make sure our veterans are aware of as we run out of time here?
Well, the other one goes back to the housing and the schooling issue kind of all together. I think it's really major, and I wanted to touch on it again, that these individuals, when there's a mishap down at the VA, which does happen, all of these individuals are going to be repaid in full. There's a task force known as the Tiger Team that every 90 days now has to report to Congress on identifying those individuals that lost their benefits or that were underpaid. And by 2020, all of them will be identified, all of them will be repaid. And because of that same IT issue, many of those individuals failed to receive a cost of living benefits increase. All of those individuals will now also be identified through this new system and made sure that not only they get the cost of living they should have gotten at the beginning of the year, but it will also be retroactive. So that will be a home run for them as far as the benefits they're entitled to.
All right, and we're just about out of time. Any final thoughts?
No, if anyone has any questions, www.mortellarolaw.com. I am a VA-accredited elder law attorney and would be happy to provide a resource to any veterans or seniors in the area that have questions.
And we'll post information on our website as well. And of course, we want to thank all of our veterans for their service. And thank you for
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you.